78 Sports TV here with a special guest, special interview today, something a little different than I usually do. But I want to speak about something that's very passionate in my heart. And I found the person who I think is best qualified to speak on this issue, and that is the American Pitbull Terrier. There are a lot of misconceptions about this breed, and hopefully we can clear some of those things up today. And my guest today is Keenan from Thompson's Kennels. He also has a YouTube page, and I will be putting the link to that page in the description box. How you doing today, Brother Keenan?
Hey, I can't complain much. How you doing, brother?
Pretty good, pretty good. All right, so first I want to ask you, when did you first start breeding the American Pitbull Terrier, and why did you choose the American Pitbull Terrier?
Well, I own the breed of dog majority of my whole life. I'm 30 years old, so I've had it majority of my whole life. I started breeding the American Pitbull Terrier in the late 90s. Early 2000s is when I really started, breeding the dog and, actually making a conscious effort that this is the breed that I like and satisfies all my needs as far as what I want in a dog.
Right. Okay, what bloodlines do you use as far as your breeding operation goes? What bloodlines do you use, and why did you choose that bloodline?
Well, I had started out breeding mostly a lot of heavy red boy dogs at first and red boy crosses. A lot of the popular red boy crosses, the red boy Jeep, the red boy Jocko, and Jocko is a strand of Eli, so more or less a red boy Eli cross. And I kind of transferred over to more towards the Boyles dogs. The Boyles dogs is predicated off of Eli Carver cross, something very similar to the Chinaman line. You look at a lot of these lines, the heritage of them mostly go back to Eli Carver crosses. So I got into the Boyles stuff. The Boyles dogs to me they bring a little bit more to the table as far as intelligent-wise. The level of intelligence, the stamina, the strength, and the physique that the Boyles strand contains is kind of a little bit more my preference right now. But I've never abandoned the red boy stuff. If any of the people who follow me know that I still put the red boy into my program. Today I still have Boyles red boy crosses that I have. So it's kind of a palate thing. What's your taste? So I'm kind of sticking with the Boyles as of right now as far as the strand of dogs that I'm running.
Okay, I want to stay on that line of questioning right now. As far as I want to ask you, can you explain to the civilian what is inbreeding, what is scatterbred, what is line breeding? What's the differences in that?
All right. For the average civilian, the line breeding is a father to daughter or mother to son. That's what a line breeding is. An inbreeding is a brother to sister. That's what an inbreeding is. And a scatterbred is a term used so people don't get confused. We're still talking about the breed of American Pitbull Terrier. There's just different strands of blood underneath this breed of dog that these names, Red Boy, Bolio, Carver, Eli, Kobe, Mims, all of this stuff is just certain strands of this blood that's underneath the purebred American Pitbull Terrier name. So scatterbred means that people who breed these dogs have a preference in the strands that they're running. As far as if people who like red boy dogs, we refer to them as really super high energy dogs. They're known for having extreme amount of wind. They don't get tired. They're in your face. They're very active. Just more of an intense level dog. So that's the characteristics that you'll see in these different strands of blood. So, it's one of those preferences as far as what, yet again, your palate tastes. The line breeding and inbreeding comes into play as far as a level of if you're trying to preserve something, you'll see people line breed and inbreed, meaning that they want to recreate whatever they did in the breeding. If they got the litter of pups that they liked and had the traits and the tendencies that they were aiming for when they were breeding, you would want to line breed on that because you've created what you wanted. So now you want to isolate the tendencies and the genes that you see in these dogs, and you want to create a strand just on that. That's why you line breed and inbreed, and also to preserve stock. If you had something that was scarce, or something happened and you didn't have access to that same strand of blood again, you would want to line breed and inbreed to preserve that strand of blood.
Okay, and would a dog without papers also be considered a scatterbred dog, just based off of default?
And we'll go back to the scatterbred. Scatterbred is a term for people who really are into pedigrees. I breed 50-50, which means I take 50% of the information is what the dog is standing in front of me, what I'm visually seeing in the dog, and I take 50% on the actual paperwork on how the dog was bred. Now, scatterbred means that if you're hopscotching from one thing to another, there is no plan or map or guide that you're using when you're breeding. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's great scatterbred dogs. A dog without papers is just basically like a person without a birth certificate or social security number. There is no way to figure out what you are, or we can't figure that out. You can do it through genetics and doing all of that stuff as part of DNA profiling and stuff. But a dog without papers is just like a dog without a birth certificate. You don't know what it is.
Right.
So it's not the same as scatterbred. Scatterbred is a dog with papers. You're just looking at the way it's bred, and you're looking like, wow, this person was breeding this, but it really wasn't no path that you could see as far as he was sticking with this kind of rotation of dog, or he was sticking with this certain strand of dog in his breeding program. He just kept breeding different things with each other to produce animals. So it's not the same as scatterbred and a dog without papers.
Okay. Also, what are some of, since you are a breeder, what are some of the things you have to do on a daily basis to some of the upkeep of these dogs? Like, how do you feed them? Just take us through a weekly regimen of what you have to do to care for these dogs.
Well, a weekly regimen for me is I clean my yard every day. Every single day, rain, sleet, freezing cold, I go outside and I clean my yard. The cleanliness of your yard is a major issue when keeping these animals. As far as setups go, I'm old-fashioned. Some things I'm a firm believer. If it's not broke, don't change it.
Right.
I still am a firm believer of the chain setup. You know, a lot of people don't like the chain setup. You know, they have anti-tethering laws in certain states, but I'm a firm believer in the chain setup. It's the most fail-proof way to keep your dog, because the American Pitbull Terrier game dog is an animal aggressive dog. It's not something that the dog owner does. It's in the genetics of the breed to be animal aggressive, not people aggressive. So the setups that you see American Pitbull Terrier dog men and breeders have is to actually keep the dog safe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anybody who deals with this breed of dog knows that what a kennel accident is, and you want to try your hardest to never have that happen. So the setups that are used with these animals are really primarily for the animal's own safety.
Oh, absolutely.
As far as my nutrition and goes, as far as my feed, I do a hard food to raw food ratio. And it varies on each dog on my yard. As you can see, some of the people who follow me, I have dogs with different builds. I have dogs that are rangier than others. I have dogs that are shorter than others. I have dogs that are heavier boned than others. So my raw food to hard food ratio is where I'm at, just to visually keep the dog the way I want it to be. Some people do 100% raw. There's nothing wrong with that. It's really your preference and what you're saying. I can't really call out any specific hard foods just to say, hey, do this and your dog's going to look like mine. It's a dibble and dabble kind of thing. You got to find a hard food that works for you, that you see the traits in your dog that you want to see on that food. A shiny coat, healthy gums, healthy teeth. The dog doesn't look visually like it's lacking something. I use the raw food to supplement whatever the hard food may be lacking. So that's why I said it's a ratio, and you got to find a sweet spot on your yard that you feel comfortable with, like I can afford to do this, or this is what I have access to, and a combination that works for you. So, I do that throughout the week, a hard food to raw food ratio, and then I also do a dry day. And what I refer to as a dry day is a day where you don't feed your dog anything. You let your dog completely empty its system out. That's what the dry day is for. That dry day is very essential. I truly believe in these animals. It just keeps the body going at a certain rate. And like I said, if you had any internal parasites or anything like that with your animals, you'll see it on that dry day. So that's a good notification. Other than like the fecal scrapes where you can use a microscope and stuff, old school, just do a dry day and you can see what's in that dog.
Okay, I appreciate that information. That was the first time I actually heard that about the dry day. I usually, I fed my dogs every day. I never heard about that. Thank you for that information. I also wanted to keep on that line of questioning in regards to precautions for the common person who are thinking about purchasing a pit bull, because many people now, for various reasons. Some people they see a dog in the shelter and they want to get a pit bull. Some people have a puppy that their neighbor had, a pit bull puppy. Some people want to look cool because they seen it in a rap video and they want to go get a pit bull. Okay, what are some precautions? What are some things that every pit bull owner must know in caring for this dog?
Well, the primary thing that you would do before you purchase any animal or any dog is you want to do your research on the breed. You want to know the characteristics of the breed. You want to know the tendencies of the breed. The American Pitbull Terrier, like I said before, is a hard-working, high prey drive, animal aggressive breed. That's what the breed is. It's not what I made it. That's what it was made back in when it came over into this country from Scotland and Ireland. That's what the breed was known for. So when you purchase an American Pitbull Terrier, the first thing is you're going to have to be a strong, firm owner, as far as these dogs are high-intensity, high-prey drive animals. Don't get that confused with human aggressive. It's the terrier that's in the dog. So if you're expecting the dog to just lay on the floor and not do anything, it's not that breed. It's going to be a breed that wants to work. It's going to need activities to burn a certain amount of energy off daily for these dogs to feel satisfied. So that's one of the major concerns as far as pit bull owners, is people think that sometimes they can put these dogs in very small apartments and then think your furniture is not going to get chewed when you don't walk the dog and things like that. It's just a very high energy dog. They like to chew on stuff, they like to run, they like to play. If you're not a high activity person, or you cannot provide the setup for these dogs to burn off a certain amount of energy a day, I wouldn't recommend it as being the breed for you. Other part of it is a lot of people who already have pets incorporate these dogs into their home, thinking that this is going to just be a marriage made in heaven, and that never seems to be the fact. It usually seems to be always an accident, a kennel accident, or an accident with two animals when either the dog owner is at work, or they went someplace and came back and they find that the two dogs got into a scuffle. You have to respect the fact that these dogs are animal aggressive. They are dominant. So when you introduce them with other animals, their natural response is normally to be dominant, to try to show their dominance on the other pet. And then you can occasionally have an accident. So, these are all things that need to have a mindset when you're bringing one of these dogs into your home. And partly, know exactly what you're buying or what you're getting, because the word pit bull gets thrown around very loosely now. Every dog with a large head is considered to be a pit bull. That's not the truth. A lot of these dogs are mixes, crosses. A lot of these dogs in the shelter are bully blue crosses with pit bulls. So you have a lot of stuff going on. I'm not a firm person. I'm a huge fan of people rescuing dogs and things, but when you rescue a pit bull, you have to have a certain mindset and a certain knowledge going into it. And best place is you want to know the temperament and the family of dogs that dog is coming from, so you know exactly what you're getting into in general. So, the best way to answer your question is people do your research.
Absolutely. And to add to that, I knew a person, a good friend of mine who was a dog trainer. He was an obedience trainer with dogs, and he used to work with German Shepherds and Rottweilers. And he crossed over and got his first American Pitbull Terrier puppy at 3 months old, and he trained the dog to walk alongside him without a leash and things like that. The dog was very obedient. But I advised him, from my experience with the breed, I told him, even though your dog is trained and is obedient, you should still walk him with the leash to prevent the inevitable accident. And then we have another story on the news about pit bull attack and all this nonsense. And he didn't want to accept that. He said, no, the dog is trained. And then the dog turned a year, about 16 months old, and he turned on, and his natural prey drive kicked in, and he ran across the street and attacked another dog. And of course, the media spun it as crazy pit bull. But I thought that was the fault of the owner. What's your interpretation of that story?
My interpretation is it's 100% the owner's fault. It's one of those things where it's not fair. And I tell the people all the time, it's not fair for a lot of pit bull owners, because you get classified as that person when something happens. So you have to have a level of respect for the animal, what the animal can physically do, and you have to have a level of respect for the animal's temperament in what you're doing. You can train a dog perfectly, but the minute anybody who owns this breed of dog knows they have a short attention span. Okay? If something flashes, they're going to focus on it, and they're going to go. No matter how hard you train that dog, that's hard for that urge in the dog just to 100% turn around and come back to you. The average person is not that good of a dog trainer. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you're not going to have 100% control over that animal, especially in the situation where the animal has now locked eyes with another dog, and now it's an initiation to a fight. They've locked eyes. There was no breaking eye contact, which means the other dog is not going to submit to your dog, and then you're going to have a problem.
Right. Okay. Also, I want to get your thoughts on the American Bully. It's a virtually new breed. When I first heard about it, it was a dog that looked very similar to the American Staffordshire Terrier, and then it started morphing into these huge dogs, XXL dogs. They look like massive mixes and Presser Canary mixes, and then it went into, now you have like these miniature micro bullies and exotic bullies and things of that nature. What's your thoughts on the American Bully, and should they be called American Bully Pit Bulls, or should they just be called American Bullies?
This is a huge discussion in the dog world right now as far as the American Bully and the American Pit Bull Terrier. For the average civilian who does not know the situation, I'm going to just briefly tell you. The UKC, those dogs that my man just described to you, are being registered with the UKC, and you're receiving paperwork that says American Pit Bull Terrier on it. That's what you're receiving when you purchase these dogs that he just described to you. As you can see from my yard and from avid American Pit Bull Terrier owners, breeders across the United States of America, you can tell that's not an American Pit Bull Terrier. It is a bulldog cross, which means they've crossed Mastiff, English Bulldog, Band Dogs, French Bulldogs, Boston Terriers. They've bred several different breeds of dogs to get a certain look. And now it's to the point where the average civilian doesn't truly know what an American Pit Bull Terrier looks like. If you stop the average person in the street and you take one of my dogs, for example, and put it next to a Merrill dog, the average person would say the dog with the basketball head is the Pit Bull and my dog is a mutt. So it's to the point where people are really confused on what the dogs look like. And, you know, it's a popular word is Pit Bull. And everybody slaps it on everything. They just put it on it. The UKC backed it up. I'm not trying to throw them underneath the bus, but this was something that was done years ago, and it really screwed up breeds because a lot of people don't know what they're breeding. They're receiving paperwork with dogs that aren't what it is. So it's a huge problem right now. My thing with the bullies and the blues is it needs to be classified as an American bully. UKC needs to go back and re-register every dog that they registered under American Pit Bull Terrier that is a bully, and they need to put out the correct paperwork. Because now you put people who own these dogs in a situation where they feel like they have to defend themselves. So when somebody who owns a real American Pit Bull Terrier says that's not a pit bull, they react as if, no, this is a pit bull, this is a real pit bull, and you're a dog fighter or blah, blah, blah. It's not an issue of knocking the breed or knocking what it is. It's just an issue of what I said from Jump Street. It needs to be clarified that you do not own an American Pit Bull Terrier. You own a new breed of dog that people created recently. This is not what the dog was established to be. The dog was not known to do home protection. Anybody who owns American Pit Bull Terrier or knows anything about the breed, they will tell you that is the worst dog in the world to do home protection with.
Absolutely.
Because genetically, they weren't bred to be people aggressive. They were bred to be animal aggressive and be handled by people. They were bred to catch small game, large game, and they were bred to be handled by people to kill the game. You don't want a dog that's people aggressive that you have to work with every day. And when you cross Mastiff and home protection animals into the Pit Bull Terrier, you've created an entirely different dog now. You have created an animal that will not think twice about biting a person because you've added genetics into the situation that said that's okay. So that's the huge issue right now. I actually personally went to an animal shelter, and unfortunately they wouldn't let me record, but it was funny. I said, I want to look at your pit bulls. And they said, oh, we have so many in the back. And I said, sure. I said, do you mind if I record? And of course they said, you're not allowed to record anything. We can show you the animals.
Right.
I went through a series of 47 dogs that were classified under pit bull, and all of them were blue.
Right.
And I said, you're classifying these dogs under American Pit Bull Terrier? And they were like, yeah, they're pit bulls. The average dog that I was running across was 70 pounds, very large dogs, band dog type of dog.
Right.
So it was amazing that that's how they were classifying it, and they were saying that these are pit bulls and this is how many we have in the shelter, when in fact none of them were pit bulls. They were American bullies. So that's kind of where you're at right there. So that kind of just gives you a scope on people don't know. Even people who you think should know the difference between the breed characteristics, they don't know. It's a pit bull if it has a large head and looks like it's got broad shoulders and a wide chest, and it could be the farthest thing from a truth.
Absolutely, and many people, like you said, a lot of people are taking these Can Corso mixed dogs and cropping the ears, and automatically now they call it a pit bull. Everybody thinks it's a pit bull. The true American game bred pit bull looks, and I don't even like using the term pit bull anymore. I just use it for communication purposes. But I like using the term bulldog or game dog or hound or something like that. But many people now are, when they see a true specimen of an American Pit Bull Terrier, they automatically look at it and say, "Oh, that dog is weak. That dog's so little." But then they'll say, "I'll go get my dog. I'll go get my pit," and they bring the dog out and it's Suppresso Canary.
Exactly. Exactly. I always tell people, that's why I say do your research, because if you're into a breed of dog, and that's my knock with the American bullies, and there seems to be no happiness with the breeders that breed that type of dog. They seem to always be trying to change what they're breeding. Either they want it to have a bigger head, or they want it to be bigger boned, or they want it to be this. I breed American Pitbull Terriers. I'm satisfied with what the breed has been established to be. When I breed, I'm not trying to make a bigger dog or make this dog's head bigger or anything like that. And that's what you kind of see with these bullies. They've put so many different dogs into it to change what it looks like, because it almost seems to be a fad. Every year there's a different, it's an exotic, it's a classic, it's a pocket, it's a standard bully. It's to the point now where what is truly the American bully? You know what I mean?
Right, right.
I mean, really, what is it supposed to look like? What is it supposed to be? A pit bull is supposed to have a breed standard, which it always has had. It hasn't been 100 pounds. It was not 90 pounds. It didn't have blue coats and all of this stuff. It was never predicated for that. The people who were breeding this animal they were more concerned about gameness, intensity, and prey drive. They could really care less how it was coming out looking. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
So now you're in a situation where you're in the world of cosmetics, and the bully breed is established off of a cosmetic look. And I don't mean to scare all of the bully breeders out there, but the dog was created to be a cosmetic look. So now everybody wants to change how it looks. So now you have 50 different kinds of it, and all of them have American Pitbull Terrier papers. And it's really sad in 2016, this is what's going on.
Yeah, and it's very sad. And many of these dogs some of them don't even have any pit bull in them at all to be called pit bull. Some of them are simply American. For instance, I know someone close to me who has a dog. He bred the dog himself, American Staffordshire Terrier, to a what do you call it? A oldie bulldog, okay, to a bull mastiff, to a a Can Corso, and he has these nice, beautiful dogs. They're pretty dogs, very nice looking dogs, okay, but they're not American Pitbull Terriers, and he has effectively gotten ADBA and UKC paperwork for these dogs.
The sad, and like I said earlier in this conversation, the registry companies, like I said, they receive money for papers. I'm going to tell everybody like it is. You send them money for paperwork when you register dogs, litters, anything, you're paying them to provide you paperwork. I truly believe the registry companies, it was a cash cow when the American Bully came out. These dogs came out of nowhere. When I mean they came out, you know how it was. They came out of nowhere.
Right.
And when they came out, people were charging astronomical amounts of money for these dogs. And everybody who bred American Pitbull Terriers, like I said in one of my older videos, they knew what was going on. I knew what was going on because I started receiving phone calls. I want a dog with a 27-inch head and all of this stuff, and I never received phone calls like that. And the minute the UKC registered these dogs under that American Pitbull Terrier, these people were able to roll over the paperwork to other registry companies. When you talk to the owners of these registry companies, and I've talked to several, a lot of them didn't even visually see what they were registering papers on.
Right.
They basically, right now, the ADBA is putting the actual photographs of the dogs on the certificates itself now it's a lot more photo registry kind of deal where they want to see photographs of these dogs so they know what they're actually registering because they'll claim, well, they came over here with UKC paperwork and we transferred it over. If UKC registered, it must have been right. And that's not the case at all.
Absolutely.
So now you have these dudes out here with they have ADBA papers, they have UKC papers. But But I tell anybody who's interested in the American Terrier, in general, the American Pitbull Terrier, you better do your research on what you're buying. You need to have a lineage of what these dogs are, because now it's like a 3-ring circus out here. I mean, you're seeing dogs with AM staff in them, and they're selling them as American Pitbull Terriers. You're seeing some of it, like you just said, a lot of these dogs don't have Pitbull in them, but they have papers. So I tell everybody again, do your research and go to a reputable breeder that can show you a family of dogs that resemble history. Okay? And when you find people like that this is the real deal. They can show me 7, 8 generation of purebred American Pitbull Terriers that look the way they're supposed to look, are bred supposed to be bred, and act the way they're supposed to act. Because you can't take for granted that just because this guy has ABBA papers or he has UKC papers that this is what it is.
Absolutely. All right. You are listening to the wise words of Brother Keenan from Thompson Kennels. And once again, a link to his YouTube page will be in the description box. And, brother, I want to thank you so much for your time. Hopefully we can do it again one day.
Hey, I really appreciate the opportunity again, my brother.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Have a nice day.